it's okay to occupy these other seats as well. You know, come to the front nicely, like a together, stronger kind of a group, or stronger together. Let's try and find unity in the room. had said to me, you must trust but always verify. So I've just verified that the minister is here. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, may we please rise and welcome the Honorable Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, Mr. Pax Tau. He is joined by the Commissioner of the Competition Commission of South Africa, Ms. Doris Tsepe, and the Chairperson of the Media and Digital Platforms Market Inquiry, as well as the Acting Deputy Commissioner, Mr. James Hodge. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You may be seated. Honorable Minister, Chairperson of the Media and Digital Platforms Market Inquiry, members of the Executive Committee of the Competition Commission of South Africa sitting on my left. I won't call you by names in the interest of time. The representatives of industry, especially the media sector, participants and stakeholders in the academia, government, and policymakers, especially in the media fraternity. The Commissioner for the Competition Commission of South Africa, Ms. Doris Tsepe, has sanctioned this special session, which is very important for us. It's been a journey, almost 25 months of an a broader investigative process, which included evidence gathering, the submissions from participants, the ongoing conversations about what is it that we need to do, because the Commission, back in 2023, has, in terms of Section 4.3b of the Competition Act, thought that it was necessary that a market inquiry, which is a broad investigation, which is not targeting anyone in particular, had to be established, Minister, to, among other things, see if there is no unfairness in the distribution of news media, both on the traditional and new media, but also to find out if the advertising spend was equitable, shared in these platforms. But more importantly, to see also if the generative AI has not in any way disrupted the media landscape, obviously making it almost impossible for some of the players to participate in these markets. Honorable Minister, we hear almost every day that the newsrooms are shrinking. People are getting retrenched, and the advertising spend, especially for community media, is dwindling on a daily basis. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Siyabulela Makunga. I am the spokesperson for the Competition Commission of South Africa. I'm working with my colleagues at the back, the organizing committee, as well as the media relations team. I am not going to be making remarks. That role has been duly allocated to my big boss, the Competition Commissioner of South Africa, Ms. Doris Tsepe. I do want, Commissioner, to let you acknowledge your guest yourself in case I am found wanting in terms of protocol. Commissioner Doris Tsepe, please welcome your guests and tell us why we are here.
Thank you very much, Sia. Honorable Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, Minister Pax Tau, the DDG of the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition in Transformation and Competition Branch, together with your team, the Chairperson of the Media Digital Platform Market Inquiry, Mr. James Hodge, together with the other panel member, Ms. Paula Frey, the members of the media houses here present, because there's another media which is here, not as stakeholders necessarily for purposes of this market inquiry, employees of the Competition Commission and stakeholders who've participated in this market inquiry, I would like to thank you for being here and welcome you here. I do also acknowledge the media who are here to report on what we are doing today. We thank you for always being that conduit of broadcasting the work that we're doing and telling it to the public, which we appreciate. Today, we published the final report of the Media and Digital Platform Market Inquiry, just over 2 years since we launched this market inquiry in October 2023. As you all know, while this market inquiry, like all other market inquiry, focuses on market features that adversely affect competition in the market, in the sector, it has done so in a sector that is critical, that plays a very critical role in supporting our democracy in South Africa and protecting many of the constitutional rights and freedoms of our citizens in the country. And this includes the rights and freedom of expression, right to access to information. And these are critical rights that we need to always protect to support democracy. The global transition to digital platforms has severely undermined traditional revenue models and has eroded the financial position of news media. And that has happened not just here in South Africa, but globally. In South Africa, declining advertising income and the limited ability of audiences to pay for subscription have led to shrinking newsrooms, as Sia has stated, closed bureaus, and constrained reporting capacity of most media houses. Meanwhile, digital platforms have exacerbated these pressures by capturing audiences and monetization opportunities that traditionally sustain news outlets. Harm to competition in this sector undermines the ability of the news media to fulfill its role in informing citizens and holding both government and businesses to account. This is both at a national level and particularly with regard to mainstream media and broadcasters, but also at the local level, given the role played by community media in our country. It applies equally to the public broadcaster, which has a mandate to provide public interest journalism to all citizens in all official languages, and yet is 80% funded through commercial advertising. And it also applies to vernacular media that keep citizens informed in their home languages. The scope of the inquiry was a bit ambitious, James, we all have agreed. It not only tackled search and social media platform conduct, but it extended to the rise of AI chatbots and the back-end tools of advertising technology used by the media to sell their digital inventory. The broad scope also enabled us to look at this problem a little more holistically and to have a holistic approach where a suite of remedies and recommendations were then devised to address all the adverse market features that impact negatively on the media in South Africa. This is more likely to result, in our view, in a financially more sustainable media moving forward. However, we all know that there are other challenges to the media other than those that arise from the platforms. And even the remedies that we have managed to get, while they lay the foundation for revitalization of the media, we do require the media to actively take advantage of these opportunities that have been opened up by the inquiry if they are to thrive. There is also additional work, Minister, you will see for government to do in supporting the media through implementing some of the recommendations from the inquiry that we make both to the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition and to the DCDT department. And we think that through these recommendations, Minister, which you still have to engage with as the Minister, together with your colleagues, you will consider them as part of the package of supporting the industry. I would like to take this opportunity, Minister, to commend the panel and the technical team for an inclusive inquiry process that has facilitated public consultation and participation from platforms, media organizations, both large and small media, government, academics, public interest organizations, to ensure that we have the outcomes that we get today. These outcomes have been strongly evidence-based with the inquiry report, with sound findings, Minister, and practical remedies. I would also like to commend most of the digital platforms for engaging in good faith, both within the hearings of the inquiry, but also through the negotiations after the report, the provisional report was published. And this was despite not always agreeing with our findings. And these negotiations, what they did was to enable us to find practical remedies that address the issues identified by the inquiry. In particular, I would like to commend Google, Meta, Microsoft, and TikTok for coming to agree on these remedial actions that we will be presenting later today. What this agreement with these platforms mean is that we can immediately implement some of the remedial actions that have been agreed to and make sure that we move forward and provide a lifeline to most media houses, but especially those that are struggling financially, and lay the foundation for the revitalization and transformation of the media in South Africa. I would also like to thank the communication and media section of the Commission for putting this together. I know we had to change venues, and we do apologize for that. We had to get the minister where we could have him, and so that's what necessitated the changes. And I do like to thank you, Ide, and the IT team for being agile enough to get us here. So without any further ado, Minister, I will now hand over to the panel, James, Hodge, and Paula Frey, to set out the inquiry findings and the remedial actions before we hand over the report to the Minister. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Colleagues, I think it's important, as James descend to the podium, to highlight that Paula Frey is joining us online. I'm not seeing her on the platform. She is Minister, one of our own in the media and communications sector. Really a highly experienced media expert who has joined the panel as an expert panel member to advise the investigative team on some of the technical issues and/or issues that have been confronting the media sector for the past so many years. James, please take over.
Thanks, Sia, and welcome everyone. I also would like to start by thanking Paula Frey for the knowledge, insights, expertise, and tireless efforts she has brought to this inquiry. I certainly don't think we could have done it without her, or done it as successfully without her. So it's a shame she's not here in person, but thank you, Paula. And Paul and I would also like to thank the technical team for their hard work and expertise. They are also a reason why we're here, and why we have the outcomes we have. This team certainly punches above its weight globally. We've seen in other countries far bigger teams achieve far less than this team. So I do want to ask them just to come up and stand here for a round of applause from the audience. And so our technical team, the leads are Nolutando Jukazi, Donovan Lindley, and Patutsetse Manenze. The team is Lumkisa Jordan, Kukle Majola, Sivuyisa Mintiki, Apiwe Nante, and Chandra Prince. We've also had research assistants, Azil Injasani and Ntwanano Choke, our administrator, Mbali Masango, and then we've been supported by cadets at the Commission, Kitaretsi Muta, Nojian Kaki, Urere Singh Maseng, Bandile Bekiswayo, Nonolelo Vuba, and Pakamani Tuniswa. Thank you, everyone. Just moving to the findings, and I'll work through the different categories, starting with search engines. Our findings are that search is monopolized by Google, and news content is of value to Google, as news queries represent between 5 and 10% of all user queries on Google. And this helps build user engagement that they monetize then on commercial search queries. Google does scrape the news content from media websites to reply to these queries, but does not compensate them for this content. The media have relied on referral traffic in the past from users clicking on links to sell advertising on their own website, but this traffic is declining as users are given AI summaries or referred to YouTube for video content, the so-called zero-click search behavior. Google's algorithm does have a bias, we find, in favor of foreign media and does not surface links frequently for community and vernacular media. But we do find no evidence of a bias in favor of YouTube. Microsoft is far smaller. It represents about 5% of search, but it has a similar foreign media bias as it contracts few SA media on Microsoft News. Google certainly gets value from gathering user data and holds a data advantage over the media, but it has started to share far more extensive user interest data through its Google Analytic tools. On social media, this is dominated by Meta, which includes Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, YouTube, X, and TikTok, which put user-posted contents into user feeds to drive their engagement and advertising. The South African public uses social media considerably to get news content, particularly the public that wishes to access community and vernacular media, and that helps drive engagement on social media platforms. Social media does offer the news media monetization options on their platforms, such as sharing of in-stream video ad revenue, and the option of referral traffic to monetize on the news website. However, we find that across all social media platforms, there are few media organizations that are credited for on-platform monetization, and not all of the monetization options that are available globally are available in South Africa. In addition, Meta and X have historically deprioritized posts with links and news content on their platforms, harming referral traffic to news sites. X is trialing a new solution for article link display that may fix this issue going forward. The public broadcaster predominantly uses YouTube to distribute content but gets limited revenue share compensation. The social media platforms have improved the data. They now provide users with greater insights on their follower interests, and that is important for the media to then monetize traffic better on their own platforms. Social media is one of the causes of growing misinformation as they promote engagement, favoring sensationalist content over credible news sources, and this does have social costs, including costs on the media to mitigate misinformation. On AI chatbots, the AI companies have scraped the websites of the news media and most of the web globally to train their AI models, including news sites, and they now scrape content in real time to provide answers to news queries. However, news currently makes up a small share of total training data, and news queries, based on the statistics we have, are a negligible share of overall AI chatbot use cases. This is different to AI-powered search, where, in fact, news queries are a meaningful share. AI companies do offer websites with the ability to opt out of their web scraping, which is important in developing a market for content, as AI companies will then need to pay for content they can't access for free. This has resulted in a number of content licensing deals globally, but nothing with the news media in South Africa at the moment. The inquiry has found that opt-outs certainly increased during the inquiry process for large media as awareness grew, but it remains out of reach for smaller community, independent and vernacular media that lack in-house technical support. The small size of the media in South Africa also makes them individually unattractive to content deals, but collectively may have more value. The AI tools themselves can be used by the media to improve efficiencies and other innovative news packages to consumers, but they obviously come at a cost as well. Moving on to advertising technology, Google dominates the ad tech stack of tools by monopolizing the ad servers used by the publishers to manage and sell their digital ad revenue. The Google Ad Server is bundled with its ad exchange and takes bids for advertising and is favored over third-party sellers in terms of lower fees and information on competing bids. Google's ad tech tools for advertisers to buy inventory also favors the use of publishers that use Google's ad servers and also has exclusivity over YouTube and search. The result is that advertisers that want quality inventory must use Google tools, and publishers that want quality advertisers must use Google tools as well. The conduct means that the news publishers ultimately will be paying higher commission fees than they would otherwise. Since our provisional report was released in February, a US court has made similar findings to our provisional report, and the EU is completing its own investigation on ad tech. Google has, in the process of this inquiry, increased the range of SA languages that it can accommodate on its ad tech platform, but other tools are available to vernacular media that might prompt entry and competition as well. Lastly, coming to government and business, I think the inquiry process itself has stimulated considerable action by the media to canvass support in government and business. The media has promoted a range of tax breaks through the GCIS project on the revitalization and transformation of the media, and the South African National Editors Forum is establishing a journalism fund, South Africa, to raise philanthropic donations from business to then provide grants to media organizations on application. The inquiry has found that if the media could act collectively on certain issues, then it would improve the monetization options available to them in future, including collective sales of community media to regional and national advertisers and collective bargaining by the media with digital platforms on monetization terms, content for AI, and the pricing of their ad tech tools. So that sums up the findings of the inquiry. I'm now going to pass over to Paula, who's dialing in from Australia, to set out the remedies. As the Commissioner has indicated, we do have broad agreement with many of these remedies, which means we can move ahead after this launch to implementation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James. Honourable Minister Parks-Tau, Commissioner Doris Sepe, I have to say that it's been an honour to serve on this inquiry. As you can see, the inquiry's findings and remedies reflect extensive engagement. Based on the findings presented in the report, the inquiry has set out the following remedies and recommendations. Next slide, please. Thank you. In search, Google has agreed to a 688 million funding package for media, for national media. This is 71 million per annum for 5 years for content on Google News Showcase or its successor, a 45 million per annum for an AI innovation fund for 3 years. For small, independent and community media, Google will contribute 38 million per annum to the Digital News Transformation Fund for 3 years and 19 million per annum in matching funding for 2 extra years. In addition, it will give 11.6 million rand in MDPMI funding for training material in vernacular languages. Google has agreed to a media growth support package that includes the launch and promotion of tools that allow SA users to select local news media as their preferred sources in news search results. individual media support to improve their website performances via core web vitals, AI training for small independent and community publishers, offer wall toolkit that facilitates micropayments for news stories, and it will establish an experimental African News Innovation Forum for African publishers. Google has also agreed to provide additional data insights to the media. Google will offer news, consumer insights, and Google Search Console support to use data shared by Google with media to develop audiences, grow revenue, and strengthen digital journalism, including through individual consults with media. Also in search, Microsoft has agreed to extend the MSN contract for news stories to an additional 5 national publishers in the country. Moving on to social media, YouTube has agreed to provide access and support for monetization. This includes a YouTube scaling support program offering quarterly skills development workshops on video content strategy, translated into vernacular languages, and automatic access to the YouTube Partner Program for participants, as well as access to the YouTube Partner Sales Program for the SABC to allow for direct sales and assistance with the digitalization of the SABC archives. In social media, Meta will establish a media liaison office to support the media. And through this, will provide resources and training to South African media for content strategies to enhance visibility and reach Meta platforms. It will provide access to operational support channels for fast resolution of operational issues, and will provide for a dedicated strategic partner manager and direct access to Meta support teams with up to 24 one-on-one special assistance sessions for media. Meta has also agreed to a Meta platform support program to provide quarterly workshops, which will be translated into vernacular languages to improve reach, make use of data insights, optimize use of Meta tools, monetization strategy, AI digital literacy, and optimal use of ad credits. Then, Meta has also agreed to provide ad credits to South African news media and will provide support for digital literacy programs in South Africa. In TikTok has agreed to introduce new publisher support programs in South Africa that includes article links to the media to insert a link within videos to monetize off-platform stories, a bulletin board for one-to-many messaging to engage the media's audience, lead generation to allow consenting users to provide contact details to the media, Publisher Suite, an analytics tool to maximize reach and improve news results, moderation support offering dedicated paths for moderation concerns or takedowns, smart split editing tools to adapt off-platform content, and skills development workshops for these tools, which again will be translated into vernacular languages. TikTok will provide digital literacy programs in South Africa. X Corporation. The inquiry has imposed on X Corp the following remedial actions. X is to offer all X monetization programs in South Africa. X is to provide biannual workshops on X monetization programs. X is to provide automatic access to its monetization programs, including premium account status, and X is to provide digital literacy programs in South Africa. For advertising technology, Google has agreed to extend ad tech remedies to South Africa. That includes ad tech price transparency solutions offered in the EU under the DMA, including event-level data on media costs, publisher payment, SSP fee, and ad server for the media. Google has also made commitments of 5A and 5B that's made to the Autorité de la Concurrence that cease passing the bidding bid of third parties to AdX and cease imposing an ad manager serving fee when using AdX with a third party's ad server. any structural remedies imposed on the US and EU ad tech cases, as well as any behavioral remedies in the EU ad tech case, including any potential remedies around YouTube exclusivity to DV 360 and the open bidding fee charged by GAM. Next slide, thank you. Then Google has agreed to offer South African media the same controls as in the EU on how web content appears in AI summaries, and this is for artificial intelligence chatbots. Google, Meta, OpenAI, and XAI make provision for the opt-out training to South African media to empower all media to opt out if they wish to develop a market for their content. Moving on, to the government recommendations, then the inquiry recommends that the minister provides a block exemption to the media for collective bargaining over the terms and conditions of monetization programs offered by digital platforms for search, social media, and AI chatbots. That it provides block exemption for the joint selling of content to digital platforms, including AI content licensing, collective bargaining over the pricing and terms of ad tech and AI tools, and collective rate cards for collective sales of ad inventory by community media. The inquiry also recommends that the DCDT develop content moderation regulations for social media in South Africa. That includes the use of existing ECTA legislation to introduce self-regulation by the social media industry representative body to quality for limited liability, as well as develop regulations for an ombud for content moderation on social media. I'd like to hand back now to James. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ospola. I am tempted, Ospola, to say you are the reason why we are here. I think most of us wanted to hear this part of the presentation without downplaying, James, the findings that the panel has made. Minister Pakstau, the promise of the government of national unity is not to leave anyone behind. And if you look at the remedial actions that this inquiry has tabled, you are really likely to believe that indeed the Commission is relentless in its efforts in making sure that we create and build a leveled playing field and create an economy that is inclusive, where everyone can play a meaningful role in the mainstream of the economy. So when they ask you in Parliament, Minister, I do wish to give you a takeaway to say if they are looking for a haven of economic redress and transformation, point to the direction of the Competition Commission of South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment of truth has arrived. I am now tempted to ask our celebrities in the production team to make sure that their cameras are well positioned, because I don't want them to miss this one important session where Commissioner Doris Sepe, joined by the chairperson of the inquiry, as well as the divisional manager in the market inquiry division. It's a new baby, Minister, the division of market inquiry. I think it is our commitment that we are making, that we understand that not every time we are going to be able to resolve the issues through enforcement and through measure reviews and assessment. We thought it was important that in the tenure of Commissioner Doris Sepe that we establish this new baby called the Division of Market Inquiries, which allows the Commission to really use the Act as an instrument to investigate broadly on what are the features that we think would distort and impede competition in all markets. At this stage, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister, Commissioner Sepe, Mr. James Hodge, the chairperson of the inquiry, and Itumeleng Lissufe for the official handover of the market inquiry report. And I think for the better understanding of everyone, what would then happen, the minister would receive this report. He's seeing it, to be fair to him, for the first time. If you may stand. Colleagues, the photographers, can you please help me with the positioning of the leadership? So what's going to happen is that the minister, after receiving this report for the first time this morning, colleagues, please help me. Yeah, I see there's a screen, and the screen is in the middle, and I don't want to see the screen. The picture. Oh, okay. Great stuff. Thank you so much. I do want to pose, colleagues, and say that I know she's quite modest on these issues, Commissioner Doris Sepe, but I want to remind her that this is the third report, Commissioner, that you are handing over to the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Competition. I think she does deserve a round of applause. And Minister Parkstar was receiving the second report since taking over as the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I now wish to invite the Honorable Minister for Trade, Industry and Competition, Mr. Parkstar, to make brief remarks after receiving the report. Honorable Minister, over to you.
Thank you very much. Am I audible? Is it working? You know, when you have vocal challenges, you try and make sure that you use the facility to its maximum effect. Commissioner of the Competition Commission, Ms. Doris Sepe, Acting Deputy Commissioners, the DDG for Transformation and Competition, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I think first I should join in apologizing because we started a bit late. I traveled in from Cape Town this morning. And on Tuesday, we were not sure that this event would take place because we're trying to synchronize it with all the other G20-related activities and, of course, a bit of work in the office. But the Commissioner persuaded us that it is important, that the stakeholders are looking forward to this report, and that she wants me to make sure that it reaches Parliament before the end of the year so that the work can start in earnest. So we kind of had to find time to accommodate this very important event. And as is evident in the presentation, indeed, it was a necessary decision to ensure that we're able to find that time. I welcome the finalization of the Media and Digital Platforms Market Inquiry and commend the panel led by James Hodge and Paula Frey and the technical team for leading an inclusive and evidence-based process. Their work has resulted in insightful findings and far-reaching remedies that I believe are crucial for our country. The news media plays an important and critical role in South Africa by upholding freedom of expression and supporting our democracy. It informs our citizens and holds public officials to account. However, the shift to online news consumption, facilitated by global search and social media platforms, has decimated the traditional advertising revenue that has sustained our media. This, of course, includes our public broadcaster, which relies on advertising for 80% of its budget, funding that is essential for it to provide public interest content to all citizens in all official languages. The resulting newsroom downsizing and media closures we have witnessed over the past 5 years are a direct threat to our democracy, the realization of our constitutional rights, and to media diversity and plurality. Government has recognized these challenges. I am confident that this inquiry will contribute significantly to the financial sustainability of our media sector going forward and its sustenance. While the inquiry recognizes that digital platforms are not the sole cause of the media's challenges, it has identified clear instances of conduct that exacerbate these challenges and deny the media fair compensation for their content. The content is used by these platforms to generate revenue by answering user queries and driving engagement. The inquiry also looked to the future, examining the likely impact of AI chatbots and AI-powered search on the media, and has sought to ensure that these developments do not undermine fair compensation. In seeking a complete solution, the inquiry also included the advertising technology the media uses, addresses the dominance of Google over these edtech tools. I commend these platforms that have agreed to these remedies and their constructive engagement with the inquiry and their commitment to supporting the media news in South Africa. The work of revitalizing and transforming our media is now beginning, and I'm committed to ensuring that successful implementation will be key to realizing the outcomes of this inquiry. I will study the recommendations of the Commission and present my decisions in due course. I will also in the process be engaging my colleague, the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, Minister Malatsi, as evidenced in the report and its recommendations, his department would be significantly impacted. I will also immediately initiate the process of ensuring that the report reaches Parliament within the 10 days as prescribed by law. So we're counting from today, and I can assure the chairperson of the committee, the Honorable Masina, that the report will be in Parliament for consideration by the committee within the next 10 days. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, Mr. Pakstau. I think today was about informed findings that are a product of an extensive investigative and consultative process, but also about practical interventions that are needed to change the status quo. And finally, about a firm commitment from the Minister that indeed this report is not going to end in his posh office. It's going to Parliament. It's going to be socialized with his colleagues in Cabinet for the implementation of policy reform recommendations that obviously are aimed at ensuring that we indeed build a competitive, dynamic, deconcentrated, and inclusive economy. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I would now wish to invite my colleagues in the media to field their questions. I do appreciate the evolution in the media landscape, but I think my bias will be towards my colleagues that are here physically and are present with us. I know I'm being assisted by Susanna Smith, the media coordinator at the Competition Commission, and the other colleagues in the communications department to make sure that we leave no one behind. The rules remain the same. You will raise your hand, introduce yourself and the media outlet that you represent. And I must maybe highlight, colleagues, that this session is only meant for the media, the reporters. I know that there are executives in the room from the media industry, but today we're only catering for the reporters. We have, of course, have an opening for industry players to pick up some of the issues with the industry chairperson, the inquiry chairperson, Mr. James Hodge, on issues of clarifications, because the report is now closed. So we are now going to allow the media colleagues to field their questions as per our usual colleagues. May I please, by show of hands, see who would like to take the first bite? I see the deputy editor from the News 24, number 1. Number 2. Please proceed.
Good morning, everyone. As the gentleman mentioned, I'm the deputy editor of News 24. You mentioned that there's obviously agreed upon remedial actions, and I saw that with X, you've imposed remedial actions. Do you foresee some sort of legal action, or how do you see the relationship with X going forward?
Next question, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Ryk van der Kerk from MoneyWeb. First of all, there were negotiations between Google and the publishers outside of this inquiry. How did this influence this report? And the second question is just, what was the attitude of Google and the other platforms throughout this process and the engagement with the inquiry?
Commissioner and the chair of the inquiry, may you please decide among yourselves who would like to take which question?
Sorry. Yes, the minister has to go. And so what I had hoped is if there were any questions relating to the minister.
We start with those.
That we start with those before we go
Fair.
to the questions.
Fair.
So if there are any questions directed at the minister, I think the minister would like to do that because he has to be out of here. Thank you. Thank you, sorry.
Thank you so much, my co-chair. Ladies and gentlemen, any indication if there are questions that you would like to field to the minister? Please proceed, sir. Can we get a mic for the gentleman?
Good morning. Thabo Makwakwa from IOL. So, Minister, I just want to understand what the expected timeline is for government's response after receipt of this report. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Thabo. I'll do that on my way out. I've only received the report. So we have to engage with the report, with the department, with the branch, of course, look at legalities and so on, process the report. The report makes some significant recommendations, including a block exemption, and other recommendations that we'd have to consider. I will give it priority, but it's very difficult to give you a timeline. And I know the commissioner might not like, and the stakeholders might not like to hear this, but we are in the middle of G20, which is going to keep us extremely busy over the next week, but we'll give it priority. Fair enough?
I think he understands, Minister. At this stage, ladies and gentlemen, please give us a few moments.
I wanted to stop you from doing what you did when you came in, because we'll discuss it.
I understand. We have stakeholders as well, Minister, not only media people.
Well, I suppose I'm left to answer the questions. So starting with News 24, and apologies I didn't get your name, but you're correct that we have imposed on X. They haven't agreed prior to the launch. In terms of the way forward, we remain open to settling this. They have, I think it's 20 days to lodge an appeal if they wish to appeal. But we have seen that some respondents in an inquiry accept the outcome, even if they haven't communicated agreement up front. And we have seen in previous inquiries that generally we settle. Sometimes these processes aren't completed by the time we have to launch, and we have to launch at some point and bring the benefits which we have created through the agreed remedies to the media. We understand the plight to the media, and so the process continues hereafter for us and X-Corp. Rake, on your question around the publishers and Google, certainly we've appreciated that the publishers have organized and engaged Google. I think it has had an enormous benefit to the process, in part because the media is directly articulating some of what they need. And we can also get feedback on the practicality of some of those arrangements. But having a sort of go-between doesn't always leave the best outcome. So we appreciate the efforts. It has been material. And we hope that moving forward, certainly the media continues to act as a collective. You'll see we've recommended collecting arrangements through a block exemption. But I think that is an important lesson from this process as well. And we're pleased that other initiatives like the SANEF Journalism SA Fund has come about. In terms of the attitude through the process, well, I suppose you've been part of the journey with us as well. And I think it is a journey for certainly global tech firms. And what I would maybe indicate is that the decision makers are not necessarily engaging with inquiry day to day, and the global tech firms, lawyers and domestic representatives need sign-off. And so it is often a process of sensitizing higher-up executives to the context of South Africa, the needs of South Africa, and the inquiry also does that too, through direct engagements with more senior leadership as well. And so I think it is a learning process. We have been told by some of these global tech firms that South Africa represents less than 1% of our global revenue. The boardroom doesn't even think about South Africa. And so, but that's where I think credit to some of those executives and credit to the teams that work with them to sensitize them to what we face and to reach agreement to move forward and support the media.
Thank you very much, James. Any other hands, colleagues in the room? May I please get a mic?
And maybe at this point I should also say, Paula, if you do wish to come in,
she must indicate. She has nodded, I think. She got the message. Please proceed.
Okay, good morning. My name is Nandidi Ngobo from the SABC. So my question is with regards to some of the funds that have been established. I think we already got wind of some of them that we established earlier in the year or possibly late last year. I think it was the Associated Independent Publishers that also formed the Digital Transformation Fund. I also hear the fact that you're saying that there'll be payments of around 70 million to some of the media houses that would be compensated through these funds. In terms of some of the payments that have already taken place, are we still expecting this 70 million rand a year to still be paid as it is, or have some of the funds already been paid out? In that context, can you just please explain what the funding mechanism and the timelines are going to look like in terms of the payments?
Thank you, Naledi. Any other hand, colleagues? I do have 3 questions online. If you may, Susanna Smith.
Good morning. We have a few more additional questions that have come through from journalists joining us online. Melissa from Bricks TV asks, did the inquiry identify any risks to data privacy, misinformation, or digital inclusion that require further regulatory intervention? And then Sibakle from IT Web asks, does Google's investment in the local media sector entail its 500 million rand fine as a remedial action? Third question, this is from the Clip Network, asking if TikTok will be introducing its creator fund in South Africa. Second to last question, when will the report be available online? And then final question, I'm not really sure the context here, but I'll read it out. This is from the Business Clinic on YouTube. Did you manage to enforce your prepayment legislation to deliver? Thank you.
As per usual, James, you will decide.
Maybe starting with you, Naledi. I mean, you are correct. And inquiry processes tend to often prompt remedies prior to the conclusion of the inquiry. And we encourage that because it means some of the issues are getting addressed faster. So the AIP did establish the Digital News Transformation Fund. I think it was announced a year ago. That is not an AIP fund, though. It is an industry fund. And so there are various representatives on its governance board, and it has taken the sort of best practice on governance as well. And so the first tranche of 38 million, as I understand, would have been paid over, and they recently announced, I think, the applications for the media to take advantage of that, and I believe that has gone well. I mean, there is a process of setting up the governance structures and all of that that takes time. So this commitment, that first 38 million has been transferred, and then, you know, the next 2 years will be a further 38 million each year, and then matching funding after that. Melissa from Bricks TV. I mean, we certainly identified risks of misinformation, and hence the recommendation to the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies to start to move on content moderation. The DCDT had put out a white paper, but this was for audio and audio-visual media services, which cover streaming and not social media. And we've looked to align with that process as well as recommendations from the media. The recommendation here, I think, benefited hugely from the engagement with the media. You know, we started off with a liability remedy and have moved more towards the ombud model with the ECTA industry regulatory body as an interim. So there are remedies there. That's a recommendation to the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies. We then would wait, as our Minister said, for that engagement from that Minister. Sibake, on the Google, there was never a 500 million fine. I think there was a lot of misunderstanding of the provisional report, which suggested that we were imposing a 500 million fine. We had just found that in terms of the value distribution, that the media was probably short between 300 and 500. We have since revised that to 200 to 300 million, and that was guiding us in the negotiations with Google. On TikTok and the Creative Fund, you will see from the remedies that Paul had read out, the Creative Fund is not there. The Creative Fund has been in the news, but not about news media. This has been about other creators on TikTok, and there's a similar fund in, I think, Belgium. But our mandate is only on the news media, and that fund is not for the news media, and our mandate doesn't extend to general creators on TikTok. In terms of when the report would be online, as I understand, it's probably online already. So you can go and get that. I also didn't understand that last question, so I won't answer it. Paula, I don't know if there's anything else that you would like to add.
James, no, just to say that there's quite a broad range of remedies, and it'd be worth actually going through them and seeing how they impact on the media, and certainly from social media there are a lot of efforts in order to support media, in order to monetize those platforms. And so, yeah, a lot of detail that would be worth actually for people to sit down and go through quite carefully.
There is a very, very, very last question. Oh, there are now two, one in the room, one online. The third one, colleagues, going thrice or four. Yeah, four last questions. You start online and then in that order.
Thank you so much. We have two questions from Rebecca Davis from Daily Maverick. First question she asks, what happened to the fact-checking and misinformation provisions in the provisional report? Question 2 from her, what is the justification for the fact that only Google will make payments? And then William Brederudder from News 24 asks, is the Commission satisfied with the 688 million rand commitment from Google, given that it had previously identified a larger value imbalance in the provisional report? Thank you.
Yeah, Reiki from MoneyWeb again. Just on the logistics of the payments, how will that work? And will the individual settlements with individual titles be transparent and be made public?
Number 3, Kulua. Oh, there's...
Okay. Good morning. I'm
please do
Ricardo
introduce.
Jacobs from The Witness.
The Witness. Correct.
One of the key grievances from the publishers is the issue of transparency when it comes to how the platforms disclose their suppression and of the numbers regarding the news content and the numbers that feed through. I think what was mentioned in the report that we've seen waves of how the algorithms impact traffic to news organizations. Will the final recommendation include enforceable transparency in terms of the platforms disclosing the impact of the algorithms on the traffic? And will there be general transparency in terms of how all of the sub dealings with how the fund is disposed be made available? Thank you.
Kulio, you're next.
Thank you, Hopewell Khadeb, Sanef. Just with regard to the recommendation, Paula, about the self-regulation of, and I think it's a social media, are they going to be incorporated in the Press Council structure of South Africa and the BCCSA, for example, with TikTok, which is like live media streaming, or are they going to have a completely separate structure started from scratch? Thank you.
There's a last question. Please proceed, madam.
Good afternoon, James. I must declare I both did some input into this report.
Your name, please,
Asra,
and the media
from
outlet.
the SABC.
Thank you.
I have two questions. One is, what constitutes news media? If I'm podcasting from my garage, am I automatically a YouTube partner? And secondly, at the beginning, there was mention of the work being done at GCIS, which I am, as far as I'm aware, is only being done with print media. How is that going to impact on or meet in terms of what the recommendations are, and not just for print media, but other media as well? Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues. James?
All right, I'll go through. Happy to answer all the questions, and then I think, Paula, you were invited also into one of them. So on fact-checking and misinformation, I mean, the misinformation is contained in a recommendation to DCDT. I think we'd recognized, even at the preliminary report stage, this is not a function the Commission can take on, content moderation. And there was extensive engagement with the media, also with DCDT, at a senior level in order to find the optimal solution that can work. And based on our assessment, the ECTA still offers a self-regulatory model for an immediate self-regulation where you have an industry representative body which must have guidelines that comply with the ministerial requirements, And limitation on liability is contingent upon being part of an industry regulatory body and complying with any takedown notices. On the fact-checking, this has certainly become complicated and also evolving. So our initial recommendation was that the platform should incorporate some of the media in the fact-checking process. This is complicated by the fact that generally the media will only contract with those that are accredited internationally on fact-checking. And so this seemed like a difficult route to take in terms of trying to, at the time, look at ways to generate also revenue for the media. There was also resistance from many in the media to being part of a fact-checking because it may threaten their independence as well. And so that is why we didn't take that forward. In terms of the question about are we satisfied with the 680 million, I mean, you're correct, we did identify a larger value. As I indicated earlier, after submissions on the provisional report, we have revised that down to between 200 and 300 million. And I think with any negotiation, you're balancing, can we get something that moves us forward? And the media has certainly felt that we need to move forward. We can't be stuck in years of litigation. And I think any negotiation, both sides will probably feel they would want more, but it's about getting something in place to move forward. We certainly think it is highly significant and compares very favorably with, in fact, better than what is happening elsewhere in the world. So I think South Africa has benefited hugely from that. In terms of logistics on payments, there was a lot of discussion in the provisional report about having a fund and how that is dispersed. In a sense, that has been resolved through a number of developments. The one is the Digital News Transformation Fund that was set up. That is for the smaller independent media and community media, which has, as its governance structure, taken on the best practice from the International Fund for Public Interest Media. And similarly, I think SANEF's Journalism Fund SA is adopting similar principles where it is on application and assessment by an expert panel. The mainstream media, if we look at the solution on Google News Showcase and also potentially any successor program, is about individual contracting between the mainstream media and Google. And so that is based on their standard contract around a formula for how media get compensated if they join the program. So from that perspective, the mainstream media or national media would have direct contracting, and then the fund is dealing with the smaller independent community media. And of course, the Journalism Fund SA, I think, is inclusive of all, and we wish that that is successful with philanthropic donations. On the transparency, so you'll see we have introduced transparency in the ad tech stack. That is coming from implementing measures under the DMA. The individual contracting means that the mainstream media or national media are going to have a contract direct with Google with a compensation mechanism, and those are standardized, and so you would understand how that compensation is calculated. But that is contingent upon things like reach subscribers, how many news stories, and so it is a formula based on that, and that should be in your contracts with Google if you qualify for that. And so that aspect is transparent. The Digital News Transformation Fund is transparent, and as I understand, the model adopted for the Journalism Fund SA is also transparent about that. You know, one of the questions on transparency that has arisen is because in other countries, there was not a legal process such as we've had here. So the Commission has obviously benefited from full access to confidential information from all of these platforms because we have powers to summons that information. And so there isn't a gap, in a sense, that may exist in other instances where it's more of a legislative process with no investigation and oversight. So at one level, the Commission has had privileged access to everything. and that is factored into our findings. I'll leave Paula, you to address the self-regulation. Just, Azra, on what constitutes news media. So that is a good question, and how we have resolved that issue precisely because of the challenges, as you state, is that it's those that ascribe to the Press Council or BCCSA, and obviously with BCCSA that's licensing by ICASA, and the Press Council we would trust to weed out the individual blogger and focus on that. On the GCIS process, I mean, we understand that is being finalized within the presidency and would go into cabinet. We don't have sight of that final version. We know some of the tax break requests from the media were made. There is obviously opportunity in that process to ensure it extends beyond print media, but I'm not certain that it is exclusive to print media. And certainly I think we've seen in the modern era, there's a blurring of the lines. Print media is involved in video content and the like. Obviously for the SABC itself, there is also additional work to find a funding model for the SABC as the public broadcaster, which is in addition to any process we have or the GCIS. Let me ask Paula to just come in on the question about self-regulation.
Thanks, James. Hopewell, I'm assuming you're talking about the recommendation really related to the DCDT using existing ECTA legislation to introduce the self-regulation by social media. And it really, I mean, if you read the report, you'll see that one of the questions raised consistently throughout the inquiry was whether enough was being done to prevent the spread of misinformation. And certainly there is a huge challenge in terms of the flood of misinformation that's even been exacerbated by AI. And so when it comes to content moderation, I mean, really, when we looked at various issues, and there was actually extensive consultation and engagement around the issue of moderation, with some really good input coming from media organizations. But a number of media organizations warned against establishing platform liability because this might have the unintended consequence of stifling free speech. And in fact, there's quite a lot of support for an ombud model, which we also see in the DCDT's white paper, even though it focuses primarily on streaming services. And so the inquiries of the view really that the ECTA can be used as an interim measure to allow for a form of self-regulation by the social media platforms, given existing legislative structure of recognizing an industry representative body with a code of conduct aligned to ministerial guidelines, and then to be able to issue takedown notices to members on behalf of the complainants, etc. But then, as you can see also, we are also recommending that the Department of Communication regulate content moderation in South Africa by bringing social media under the ambit of an ombud to a degree. So still issues, work that needs to be done there, and I would really encourage the media to continue to be involved in that process.
And maybe I forgot to answer one of the online questions about justifying whether Google is the only one who makes payments. So I think there's two reasons for this. The first is it's not entirely correct because social media has monetization options on their platforms, and it's bringing about both, so for Meta it would be ad credits and significant ad credits to boost the presence and generate, and the programs are around monetization. Google doesn't have a monetization program on its platform currently, but these remedies would allow for that. So the Google News Showcase is a value exchange for news content in order to get that. And so at one level, it is looking at, both Google and the social media companies will be making payments. It just takes different forms. The second is that Google is user query driven. It's looking to answer a query as best it can coming from the user, whereas social media is about user posts, and the media chooses to post or not post. And so there are also differences in how the content is used as well. But we would expect, given the programs that we've allowed for TikTok to bring in an extensive publisher suite, Facebook as well to bring their content monetization, which is under beta and very few media use, and also extending, as I said, X-Corp, whether that's imposed. We would expect that would unlock money coming from the social media platforms to the media. We can't estimate the amount as yet, but it's an opportunity certainly to do so. And that we think one must look at this in the round about all the opportunities to monetize and grow revenues. I mean, it has been from the start trying to find a sustainable path that's win-win rather than a short-term payout that goes nowhere after that. And so it is trying to see whether this can, in a sense, leapfrog the media into a digital news era where they can sustainably monetize. And certainly we'd be interested to see the impact of this. We aim to have impact. We've made our best judgment that it would have substantial impact. But obviously this is something, as the Commissioner said, requires also activeness from the media to take advantage of some of these opportunities.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think I do want to advise members of the media that in addition to this engagement of wrapping up this session, we are going to make available members of the panel as well as the technical and investigative team for one-on-one interviews. We have already received a few requests that we're coordinating, James at the back, some here, some at a later stage. At this juncture, I would like to join the Commissioner. I need your guidance. Oh, there is a request for a question from an industry role player.
Thank you. It was very simple. I just wanted to, on behalf of the Publishers Support Services Group that represents most of the national print publishers, as well as a few broadcasters and online media that are here and engaged with the Commission. I just wanted to thank the Commission for establishing the inquiry and for all the hard work that was done by the Commission and the team and the sort of rigor with which they went through this whole process. I think the outcome has certainly been a step in the right direction for us, and we hope that we'll engage further on it. But also, more than that, I wish to thank our team from Weber Wenzel, Daryl Dingley and his team here on my right, who were crucial in getting this established. We did try about 5 years ago to get in via the back door, and the Commission kicked us out. And then we established this inquiry, and I think the process has been really good for us as media houses and has caused us to reflect on our own business models internally as well. And we do take the recommendations that James Hodge has put in and Paula has outlined in the remedies, and we hope that this will be the start of a revitalization of our sector. So thank you very much to the Commission for this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am happy that the members of the media have captured that vote of confidence from an industry role player. However, colleagues, I was saying I wanted to join the Commissioner in thanking the members of the media. I know, Commissioner, we're contesting or competing with quite a few important events, one of which was the roundtable on the budget that was tabled in Parliament yesterday. There are other G20 activities that are happening, but I think to see this representation from the members of the media is really hope that members of the media are actually committed in telling this beautiful story where we are really hoping to turn the tide in the media sector for a better future for everyone. At this juncture, I would like to thank everyone. You've been a wonderful audience. You've cooperated well with me and the panel, and thank the panel for beautiful and insightful inputs. We do hope that beyond this, we're all going back to our shores to make sure that work continues. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We are now invited to lunch. I know it's on my left, out of the exit on your left. Lunch will be served there for everyone. Thank you so much. So for those... Thank you. For those who have requested for interviews, I would like to request that we do all the interviews in the room, just to manage the noise levels. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.